The harsh metallic landscape of Obsidian Prime stretched endlessly, a nightmare of industrial brutality where hope came to die. HFY's delicate blue-tinted skin contrasted sharply against the rust-colored mining platforms, her slender frame moving with practiced efficiency among massive extraction machines. She was a Nexian, a species once celebrated for their advanced quantum engineering, now reduced to nothing more than disposable labor for the consortium. Her bioluminescent markings, once a symbol of cultural pride, now served as tracking tags, each subtle blue-green line a reminder of her enslaved status. The morning shift began with the usual soul-crushing routine. Massive robotic overseers, hulking mechanical sentinels with razor-sharp sensor arrays, monitored every movement. These weren't simple machines, but advanced AI-driven enforcement units programmed to detect even the slightest deviation from work protocols. HFY's hands moved quickly, sorting rare mineral compounds into specialized containment units. Each movement was calculated, each breath measured. One mistake could mean immediate punishment, or worse, complete system recalibration, a process that essentially wiped workers' neural memories. Around her, hundreds of alien workers from different star systems moved like ghosts. Reptilian Krell, workers with scales harder than titanium, silicon-based Astrians whose bodies shimmered like living crystal, and various humanoid species, all united by their shared misery. The mining complex wasn't just a workplace, it was a technological prison. Invisible energy barriers prevented escape, quantum-locked communication jammers blocked any potential communication with outside systems, and neural inhibitor fields suppressed any collective resistance thoughts. Suddenly, a distant alarm broke the monotonous rhythm. A supply spacecraft was approaching, sleek, angular, with advanced Terran Federation markings. Most workers ignored it, but HFY's keen senses detected something different about this arrival. Her neural implant, a mandatory tracking device, occasionally glitched, giving her momentary glimpses beyond her programmed existence. Today, something felt different. The spacecraft's approach seemed less routine, more deliberate. Massive cargo doors opened with a pneumatic hiss. Maintenance robots scurried like metallic insects, preparing for unloading. But HFY noticed something unusual. The crew's movements weren't typical. They seemed more observant, less mechanical. One particular human stood out. Younger than most consortium officers, he moved with a different energy. While others saw just another work unit, his eyes seemed to actually see the workers, really see them. The complex buzzed with unspoken tension. Massive holographic displays flickered with production statistics, radiation levels, and worker efficiency metrics. But beneath the technological facade, something was brewing. HFY knew her people's history. The Nexians were once galactic, pioneers, creators of revolutionary quantum communication technologies. Their civilization had explored dimensions humans couldn't even comprehend. Now they were reduced to mineral extraction slaves. Her grandmother's forbidden stories echoed in her memory. Tales of magnificent starships, of civilizations that valued individual potential, of societies where beings weren't mere production units. Those stories were her secret rebellion, kept carefully hidden from the omnipresent surveillance systems. The new arrival's presence disrupted the complex's carefully maintained order. His movements, his observant glances, suggested he saw more than just production metrics. For the first time in years, HFY felt a microscopic spark of something dangerous, hope. Robotic overseers continued their relentless monitoring. Quantum energy fields hummed. Massive extraction machines consumed raw planetary resources with mechanical indifference. But something had changed. A small, almost imperceptible shift was happening, like a quantum particle on the edge of transformation, ready to change everything. The day continued. Minerals were sorted, production quotas were met, but underneath the surface something was different. HFY didn't know it yet, but her life was about to change forever. Radiation levels, stable worker efficiency, 99.7% anomaly detection, minimal end. Of Part 1. Would you like me to continue with the next part of the story? The cargo hold vibrated with a low, persistent hum as David Rodriguez reviewed the complex's production reports. Something felt off about this routine inspection, though he couldn't immediately pinpoint why. His fingers traced holographic data, streams catching subtle inconsistencies in the worker processing logs. Outside the observation window, HFY continued her work, unaware that she was being carefully studied. The consortium's standard procedure typically ignored individual workers, treating them as interchangeable components. But David's background in xenoanthropology made him different. A maintenance robot suddenly malfunctioned near HFY's workstation. Its mechanical arm jerked erratically, threatening to crush a stack of sensitive mineral containers. Without hesitation, she moved with incredible precision, redirecting the robot's momentum, preventing a potential disaster that would have resulted in severe punishment. David watched, fascinated. Most workers would have frozen, allowing the inevitable consequence. But she had acted with calculated intelligence, something the standard worker profiles never captured. The complex's environmental systems maintained a constant temperature of 22 degrees Celsius, perfectly calibrated to suppress worker energy levels. Massive holographic displays tracked every microscopic movement, every breath, every heartbeat. Surveillance was absolute. Quantum communication arrays hummed overhead, creating an invisible web of monitoring technologies. Invisible energy fields suppressed communication between workers, preventing any potential collective resistance. Each alien species had specific neural inhibitor frequencies designed to maintain absolute control. During his inspection, David discovered something peculiar in HFY's worker profile. Her neural response patterns suggested higher cognitive flexibility compared to standard Nexian worker classifications. Most fascinating was her subtle resistance to standard neural programming techniques. The consortium's primary strategy involved breaking individual spirit through systematic dehumanization. Workers became extensions of machinery, their cultural identities systematically erased. But HFY's profile suggested something different, a preserved inner core of resistance. Massive. Robotic guardians continued their relentless patrol. Quantum energy fields maintained their invisible control. Extraction machines consumed planetary resources with mechanical precision. But something was different today. David's handheld diagnostic tool captured micro-expressions, subtle neural response patterns that revealed more than standard monitoring systems. HFY's bioluminescent markings flickered with unusual frequency, suggesting heightened cognitive activity. A distant alarm signaled a minor technical adjustment in the mining sector. Most workers would continue their tasks robotically. But HFY's response was different. A momentary pause, a calculated assessment of the situation. Their first direct interaction happened accidentally. Our calibration error in the worker distribution system momentarily lowered the neural suppression field. David's eyes met HFY's, a fraction of a second that felt like an eternity. In that moment, something extraordinary happened. A silent communication passed between them. Not words, but a mutual recognition of individual existence. She wasn't just another worker. He wasn't just another inspector. The complex's technological infrastructure continued its relentless operation. Massive data streams processed worker movements, mineral extraction rates, and environmental conditions. But underneath the technological facade, a human connection was forming. Quantum communication arrays continued their silent monitoring. Robotic guardians maintained their perpetual patrol. The mining complex breathed with mechanical rhythm. But something had changed, a spark of potential, a microscopic disruption in the system's absolute control. David made a decision. He would learn more about this particular worker, not as a statistic, but as an individual. HFY returned to her tasks, her bioluminescent markings subtly shifting, almost like a hidden language of resistance. The day continued. Minerals were sorted, production quotas were met, but something fundamental had shifted. Their unexpected connection was just beginning. Worker efficiency, 99.8%, anomaly. Detection, minimal neural synchronization, Unclassified. End of Part 2 would. You like me to continue with the next part of the story? The mining complex pulsed with its usual mechanical rhythm, but something had subtly changed. David's subsequent inspections became carefully orchestrated moments of connection with Higher One. Quantum communication barriers made direct communication impossible, so they developed an intricate language of micro-gestures and strategic positioning. During one routine scan, Higher One strategically positioned a mineral container, its reflection, creating a momentary coded message, visible only through specialized diagnostic lenses. The message revealed disturbing details about underground slave transportation routes, information that could potentially dismantle entire consortium trafficking networks. Robotic surveillance systems continuously monitored worker movements. Massive holographic displays tracked every microscopic interaction. Neural suppression fields maintained their invisible control. But beneath this technological infrastructure, a rebellion was quietly brewing. David's xenoanthropological training gave him unique insights. He recognized the complex communication systems used by enslaved workers, subtle bioluminescent patterns, strategic body movements, even microscopic chemical signal exchanges that went undetected by standard monitoring systems. The consortium's control mechanism was sophisticated. Each worker species had specific neural inhibition frequencies designed to suppress collective resistance. Reptilian Krell workers, silicon-based Astrians, and humanoid species were systematically prevented from organizing any form of rebellion. But Higher One was different. Her Nexian neural architecture contained unique quantum communication potential, a genetic legacy from a civilization once known for revolutionary technological innovations. Her people weren't just workers, they were once galactic pioneers whose technological capabilities had been systematically suppressed. Massive extraction machines continued consuming planetary resources. Robotic guardians maintained their perpetual patrol. Quantum energy fields hummed with controlled precision, but microscopic resistance was growing. David discovered a hidden communication network embedded within the complex's waste processing systems. Workers from different species had developed an intricate communication method using thermal variations, chemical signals, and strategic machine positioning. It was a language of survival, of hope. During one critical moment, Higher One revealed a comprehensive data package hidden within mineral compound molecular structures. The information exposed multiple consortium illegal operations, slave transportation routes, unauthorized genetic modification programs, and systematic cultural Russia protocols. The complex's technological infrastructure was designed for absolute control. Invisible energy barriers prevented physical escape. Neural inhibitor fields suppressed collective thoughts. Quantum communication jammers blocked external communication, but information was finding its way out. Massive holographic displays continued, tracking worker movements. Robotic systems maintained their relentless monitoring. But something was changing. The system that believed itself unbreakable was developing microscopic fractures. David realized the rebellion wasn't about violent overthrow. It was about systematic exposure, about revealing the complex mechanisms of oppression. Each piece of information was a weapon more powerful than any physical resistance. Yi-Wan's bioluminescent markings began telling a story. What appeared to be random color shifts were actually complex data transmissions. Her body became a living communication system, transmitting information through subtle genetic signaling techniques. The mining complex continued its daily operations. Minerals were extracted, production quotas were met. But underneath the mechanical surface, a revolution was taking shape. Not through violence, but through intelligent strategic information exchange. Quantum communication arrays hummed overhead. Robotic guardians maintained their perpetual patrol. The system believed itself perfect, unbreakable. But small intelligent beings were finding their way through its technological armor. David's next diplomatic report would change everything. The information Higher One provided wasn't just about exposing illegal operations. It was about revealing the fundamental human potential for understanding, for breaking systems of oppression. Their connection transcended traditional boundaries. He wasn't just a human inspector. She wasn't just an enslaved worker. They were, becoming something more, architects of a potential galactic transformation. The day ended. Massive blast doors sealed the complex. Neural suppression fields activated. But something had fundamentally changed. A rebellion had begun. Quiet, intelligent, unstoppable. Worker efficiency, 99.9%. Anomaly, detection, increasing rebellion. Potential, unclassified. End of part 3. Would you like me to continue with the next part of the story? The escape plan was meticulously crafted, a delicate dance of precision and calculated risk. Obsidian Prime's mining complex was a technological fortress. Quantum barriers, neural inhibition fields, and constant robotic surveillance made escape seemingly impossible. David had strategically positioned himself during the next scheduled supply transfer. His diplomatic credentials provided a unique vulnerability in the complex's security protocols. HFY's insider knowledge would be their ultimate weapon. Massive cargo shuttles prepared for routine mineral transportation. Quantum communication. Her rays hummed with their constant monitoring. Robotic guardians maintained their relentless patrol. But today, something different was brewing beneath the mechanical surface. The first phase involved disabling specific neural suppression frequencies. HFY's unique Nexian genetic structure allowed her to manipulate quantum communication bands, a skill her people had developed over millennia of technological evolution. Each subtle movement was calculated, each breath controlled. Suddenly, a massive energy surge rippled through the complex's systems. Holographic displays flickered. Robotic guardians momentarily paused, their neural networks experiencing microscopic disruptions. It was their window of opportunity. David's hand subtly touched a specialized quantum disruptor, a device technically illegal but strategically necessary. One precise frequency could create momentary chaos in the complex's technological infrastructure. HFY's bioluminescent markings began pulsing with an intricate communication pattern, coordinating their escape. The cargo shuttle's loading bay became their primary escape route. Massive containment units provided perfect hiding spaces. Workers moved with mechanical precision, unaware that two individuals were about to break every established protocol. Pursuit was inevitable. The consortium didn't just lose valuable worker units. Their tracking systems were sophisticated. Quantum entanglement sensors that could detect biological signatures across multiple star systems. As the shuttle launched, the first wave of pursuit vehicles emerged. Sleek robotic interceptors with advanced quantum propulsion systems cut through space with mathematical precision. Each vessel was equipped with neural tracking technology capable of identifying specific genetic signatures. HFY's knowledge of quantum navigation became their ultimate survival tool. She understood spatial anomalies, quantum drift patterns, and hidden stellar routes that standard navigation systems couldn't detect. Her people were once galactic pioneers, and that genetic memory remained intact. The first pursuit wave came, within weapon range, quantum energy weapons charged, preparing to neutralize their target. But David had anticipated this. A series of carefully placed energy dispersal modules created quantum interference, momentarily blinding the tracking systems. Asteroid fields became their sanctuary. Complex gravitational interactions and mineral radiation created perfect cover. Each movement was calculated, each navigation decision life-threatening. One mistake would mean complete destruction. HFY's bioluminescent markings began displaying complex navigational data. What appeared to be random color shifts were actually sophisticated quantum communication patterns, a living, breathing navigation system that adapted faster than any mechanical computer. Their spacecraft wasn't just a vehicle, it became a living entity, with HFY's genetic understanding of quantum mechanics and David's strategic thinking creating a symbiotic survival mechanism. Consortium pursuit vessels continued their relentless chase. Quantum energy weapons charged, tracking systems refined their search patterns, but the fugitives moved with an intelligence that transcended standard computational models. 3 additional pursuit waves emerged from quantum jump points. Each wave more sophisticated, more deadly. Specialized xenobiological neutralization units prepared to track and eliminate their specific genetic signatures. But they had something the consortium didn't understand, a connection that went beyond traditional understanding, not just human and alien, but 2 intelligent beings fighting for something greater than themselves. The spacecraft's quantum drive began overloading. Navigation systems screamed warning signals, but HFY's unique neural architecture allowed her to communicate directly with the ship's core systems, transforming technology into a living, breathing entity. Massive energy. Discharges illuminated the surrounding space. Asteroid fields became their protective shield. Quantum communication arrays searched desperately for their signature, but they had become something unexpected, not just escapees, but pioneers of a new understanding. Pursuit status. Active escape. Probability. Unpredictable quantum signature. Unclassified. End of Part 4. Would you like me to continue with the final part of the story? The quantum-damaged spacecraft drifted near an uncharted planetary system, its systems barely functional. HFY's unique neural architecture had transformed their vessel from a simple transportation unit into a living survival mechanism. Microscopic. Repair nanites crawled through damaged circuits, rebuilding critical systems with an intelligence that defied standard technological understanding. David's diplomatic credentials became their primary weapon. The comprehensive data package they had collected wasn't just information, it was a systematic exposure of the consortium's most deeply hidden illegal operations. Slave transportation routes, unauthorized genetic modification programs, and complex networks of interstellar exploitation were about to be revealed. Galactic diplomatic channels began to shift. The information they carried could potentially dismantle entire economic and political structures that had existed for generations. What began as a personal escape was transforming into a potential revolution. Quantum communication arrays across multiple star systems began picking up their transmission. Diplomatic encryption protocols designed by HFY's Nexian ancestors created an unbreakable communication network. Each data packet was a weapon more powerful than any physical resistance. The first official hearings began on the Central Galactic Judicial Platform. Massive holographic displays showed detailed evidence, not just allegations, but comprehensive documentation of systematic oppression. Workers from multiple species watched with growing hope. HFY's testimony became a turning point. She wasn't just presenting evidence. She was revealing the fundamental mechanisms of oppression. Her ability to communicate complex technological and social systems exposed the intricate ways powerful entities maintained control. Consortium representatives attempted to discredit their evidence. Massive legal teams prepared complex counter-arguments. But the data was irrefutable. Each piece of information had been carefully collected, verified, and strategically presented. The judicial proceedings became more than a legal battle. It was a fundamental challenge to established galactic power structures. Workers from multiple species began organizing, inspired by their story of resistance and liberation. Specialized xenobiological research teams became involved. HFY's unique neural architecture revealed fascinating insights into worker suppression technologies. What the consortium believed was absolute control was actually a complex system with inherent vulnerabilities. David's diplomatic background provided critical strategic support. He understood the complex political landscapes, the subtle diplomatic channels that could transform their evidence into meaningful change. Their partnership transcended traditional boundaries of species and social status. Quantum energy fields that once suppressed worker communication began breaking down. Neural inhibition technologies developed over centuries started showing fundamental flaws. The system that believed itself unbreakable was collapsing from within. Multiple star systems began implementing new worker protection protocols. Diplomatic channels that had been closed for generations suddenly opened. The evidence they collected became a catalyst for fundamental social transformation. HFY's people, the Nexians, began reclaiming their lost cultural heritage. Genetic memory banks were reopened. Technological archives that had been suppressed for generations became available. They were no longer just workers, they were becoming pioneers again. The spacecraft that had been their escape vessel became a symbol. Preserved in a central galactic museum, it told a story of resistance, of hope, of the potential for individual action to create massive systemic change. Diplomatic negotiations revealed the complex economic structures that depended on worker suppression. Each exposed network created opportunities for new, more equitable economic models. The revolution wasn't just about freedom, it was about reimagining fundamental social structures. Years of systematic oppression began unraveling. Workers across multiple star systems started organizing, sharing information, understanding their collective potential. What had begun as a personal escape was becoming a galactic transformation. HFY and David's partnership became more than a personal connection. They had become architects of a new understanding, a bridge between species, between oppressed and oppressor, between what was and what could be. The final judicial ruling came down. Consortium leadership faced comprehensive legal consequences. Worker protection protocols were implemented across multiple star systems. A new era of galactic cooperation began. Their story spread across communication networks, not as a simple tale of escape, but as a testament to the power of individual courage, of understanding, of the potential for transformation. They had done more than escape. They had started a revolution. Systemic change, confirmed liberation potential. Unprecedented galactic transformation, initiated. End of Part 5.